Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the June 24th Lebanon Board of Works meeting. Our first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God.
All right, we'll move on to the roll call. Board members, Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Mayor Gentry.
Here.
Becky McClure. Present. Bill Stoner.
Present.
Dick Robertson.
Present.
Alan Milburn is excused tonight. Thank you.
Can't remember if I didn't see minutes come through. Yeah, no minutes yet. All right. Move on to department head reports. First up will be Police Department. Major Hood.
Good evening. In the time since the last department report, the Lebanon Police Department has responded to 781 calls for service, investigated 30 vehicle crashes, and effected 16 arrests. Those arrests were for the following charges: operating while intoxicated, 4, 3 possession of methamphetamine, 2 resisting law enforcement, 1 driving while suspended, 1 intimidation, 1 possession of cocaine, 1 battery, 1 leaving the scene of an accident, 1 dealing in a narcotic drug, and 1 possession of a legend drug. Detective Austin McCloskey attended a national conference for internet crimes against children. McCloskey attended specialized training for investigating technology-based crimes against those children. Officer Trey Kamaj completed active shooter instructor training. This 2-day course taught proactive responses and survival strategies for violent critical incidents. Officer Brianna Deckard completed advanced roadside impair detection and enforcement training. That's a step up from the field sobriety testing. Officer Caleb McCloskey and Officer Parker Newman completed Laird Law and an introduction to gun liaison training. This training covered those red flag laws for the seizure and retention of firearms from mentally unstable individuals. And finally, Officer Ed Christie completed drug abuse resistance education training. This fall, Officer Christie will be assisting Sergeant Coons in instructing DARE in our schools. Pending your questions, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Major Hood. Any questions for Major Hood from the board? From the public? Thank you, sir. Next will be Fire Department, Chief Batts.
Good evening, everyone. Since the last Board of Public Works and Safety meeting, Lebanon Fire has made 121 emergency calls of service, logged 262 training hours, completed 64 commercial inspections, and finalized 9 commercial pre-plans. Lieutenant Sam Doherty was detailed to the 2024 Teen Academy. This is a joint academy between the Boone County Sheriff's Office and the Lebanon Fire Department. There were several things covered during the academy. The law enforcement topics included defensive tactics, traffic stops, handcuffing, CSI, and meeting and working with the canine officers. The fire service topics included victim drags, engine and hose line operations, including waterfall, SCBA confidence course, forcible entry, and VEIS. We worked on the lateral transfer process today. The applicants completed their interview with Deputy Chiefs Young and Hendricks, along with the battalion chiefs. They completed our work performance evaluation and the 100-foot ladder climb. We'll be evaluating the applicants from there. And you may have heard a fairly random tornado siren test today. We were having issues with the tornado siren located at Mount Zion and Enterprise. So we worked with the county to set up a test at 3 o'clock. Dispatch center was very busy at 3. There was a very serious accident just east of town. So we had to move it to about 3:45. But the siren is malfunctioning. We've contacted Adams Electric, and they're going to be out this week to start working on it because we know that we have some weather moving in this week. That concludes my report.
Chief, is that the same siren we had trouble with a couple of years ago?
Yes, we've had a lot of issues with it over the years, and they just take a lot of maintenance. They do, they're out in the weather all the time, so we'll get it figured out.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief from the board, from the public? Thanks, sir. Next will be Parks and Recreation, John Messenger.
Good evening. Maintenance cleaned up the entrance to Stone Eater Bike Park, and we'll be addressing the rest of the frontage over the next few weeks, removing old fencing, small trees, trimming and mowing. Kevin will give you a report on Stone Eater this last weekend. It was great. We will also be removing dead branches, dead trees in Memorial Park and preparing for the 4th of July celebration. Be dressing everything up, painting the gazebo, prettying everything up. All our events start taking place this weekend, so we're looking forward to it. The Splash Pad and Seashore Water Park have been very busy this month. I was talking to Becky and Bill earlier, and can't believe that 2 weeks ago we were talking about closing the pool because it was 47 degrees out. Does anybody remember those days? Anyway, we're having no problems with patrons coming into our parks. They're busy, very busy. One slide in Memorial Park is boarded up as we're having trouble finding replacement. It's been boarded up for, 6 months, Matt? Your little boy is mad
One of
at
his
me over
favorites,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, he is. There's quite a few little boys and girls that are mad at me, but we're working on it. I'm thinking when we replace Abner Longley, we might be able to substitute one of those. It's just real difficult, and you can't just throw anything in there and jury rig it. So we're working our best to try and find some. I've gone through 3 companies and nobody can match it. New playground equipment is scheduled to ship the first week of August for Abner Longley. And then we'll schedule a community build probably sometime in September, working through the details now. We are working with our neighbors at Uland Country Club to re-landscape the northeast corner of Memorial Park near the Uland entrance. They have some great sketches and ideas, and I'm going to help Gabe out. Since part of that property is really their property, we're just being good neighbors and helping them out. Also talked about a fence at the very back, some wrought iron fencing. I don't know if they'll have the monies to do so, but it'll look nice once they complete all that entranceway, and it'll look nice coming into the park.
Hey, John, do you know if that will be just a 5-foot sidewalk, or are they going to widen that path there? 'Cause
It's
do
going to
see
be a
lot of
little
golf
bit
carts that do
wider
that.
there. It will be a little bit wider. Of course, there'll be a lot of ripping out of all the plant material is what's scheduled. And I have some sketches I can show everybody. I don't have them with me this evening. Nothing's in stone yet, but we have like 3 or 4 renderings. And they've included me, which I really appreciate, being their neighbor to go to those board meetings and look and work with the landscapers and the designers on that.
I just know a lot of people use that kind of path for golf carts a lot to come
Yes, they
to our
do.
park. So I
And
think
it's tight.
And it's tight. So I
Yeah,
just think having
scratching up the sides, I've heard all about that.
Yeah.
We've cut the bushes back a little bit, but yeah, that will be taken care of. What they're looking at also, I think, is the entranceway to Uland, changing up the frontage, and it's really going to look nice. Hopefully they can find the funding for it. There again, last week we teamed up with DPW and had a bucket rescue training provided by IMPA. There again, we go through a lot of training throughout the year. I think we have 8 scheduled this year. There again, bringing them out of the bucket and also how to rescue them, and then CPR and defibrillator training. So it's very important that everybody participates, and they do a real nice job of showing us the safety ways to go. We partnered with Mermazing Princess Parties and had a wonderful story time in the cabin on June 12th. Several little ones came to enjoy the story and craft that we had. We look forward to more events like this. It was Rapunzel, if anybody wants to know who the princess was. Yes, she was very good. Boone County Cancer Society hosted their Cruising for a Cause car show in Memorial Park last Saturday. And I had a great turnout. I think they raised $7,000 around that, if I'm not mistaken. Community band performed last weekend. However, they did it inside Memory Hall, I believe, or where was it? No, it was at Baptist Church. There again, the weather was so hot, we moved it, or they moved their event there. This past Friday evening, we hosted our co-ed pickleball tournament. Games kicked off at 6 p.m. and the championship game ended up around 11. It was a long, fun night of pickleball. Congrats to Team Emma and Cam for winning it all. Thanks to everyone who participated. I think we had 18 teams. It was very popular and very hot. Central Christian Church will be hosting their worship in the park on Sunday, June 23rd. They'll be at the bandstand stage that morning or that evening. Our June swim lessons are almost complete. Morning lessons were finished up last Friday, and then the rest of them will be finishing up this evening, or no, tomorrow night. That'll finish up our June, and July's already booked too for our swim lessons in morning and evenings. Activities for the 4th of July will really kick off this Saturday, June 29th. Visit Boone County 4th of July Facebook page for a list of activities. And I did want to say the City Council last meeting approved monies for our 4th of July fireworks. Really greatly appreciate that. And they're going to be better than ever. So I think everybody got a little taste of what fireworks are, but boy, it's going to be nice that night. So looking forward to it.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John from the board? From the public? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next will be Engineering Department, Kevin Krulik.
Thank you. Good evening. Give you some project updates or updates on project changes throughout the city. The Chadwick Ditch Drainage Study improvements, we are moving that forward and have some proposed plans that we're putting before the county surveyor's office, as well as coordinating with Angeli Gardens. So hopefully we'll have more to share in the next couple of weeks, hopefully before the next meeting on July 8th. Grant Street Phase 1, last Wednesday, we did our final walkthrough, so the punch list item had been complete. Our inspectors and NDOT did the final walkthrough on that contract. So really that puts us in a situation where about 45 days, give or take, where that project will be closed out by the state. So nearing the end there. Grant Street Phase 2 continues to move forward. We've approved 2 additional right-of-way purchases. I think those are the last 2, if I'm not mistaken. And now we're working through utility relocation plans and getting all those items finalized in anticipation of that project letting next July 20 of 2025. Riley Road, lots of work happening there. If you've not been by recently, pavement widening is complete. Most of the driveways and sidewalks, driveway approaches and sidewalks have also been poured. There's one last segment of a driveway and sidewalk that will go in tomorrow, and then that will be complete. And that's just making sure we can maintain access for the residents that live in the area. That's why we have to break that up. Resurfacing is scheduled for next Tuesday, and then the shoulder work will follow that. So we're just nearing the final stretches here, getting contractors in there for final grading and seeding, sod placement. So we're nearing the final stretch. Should be wrapping up right around the 4th of July. Fordyce Road project. Ongoing utility relocation operations are happening out there. Happy to report the water main construction from our contractors at Milestone started this morning. So that's moving forward. The road remains closed from Morningside to John Bart Road. That's closed to through traffic, but residents can still, local traffic can still gain access through there. The Noble Street project, unfortunately, we did not get enough responses to our engineering RFP, so that was reissued by NDOT. The submittal deadline is now July 15th for responses on that, so that was reposted. The 180 makeover program, right now the only active project is the Boone County Cake Company, and the next major milestone there would be the issuance of the RFP associated with the covered patio extension on the front of the building. But we now have fully executed subrecipient agreements for 4 additional projects. You'll hear it about in the coming weeks, but that's the Lido at 124 South State Road 39 or South Lebanon Street, the Collier's Corner at 126 South Lebanon Street, Eichmann Exchange, which is 124 and 126 North Lebanon Street, and then Oaks on Main at 109 West Main Street. So 4 additional projects on the list that you'll be hearing more about in the coming weeks as we finalize agreements between the city and those building owners and start to work on putting RFPs out on the street. Let's jump to the park projects that we're working on. John mentioned it, but I do want to thank the Parks Department staff for helping to clean up an old fence line and some scrub trees around the entrance of the park and getting that ready for mowing. So that's looking good out there. On that same vein, I want to thank the Public Works Department. They'll be out doing some bush hogging around the site starting tomorrow morning. This is really trying to knock down some invasive species that we got out there before they go to seed here shortly. So if you're familiar with bull thistle, we have a lot of bull thistle out there and it's awful. So we're going in there and trying to knock that down. Other items out the park, all the material hauling is complete. Trail work continues. Culvert installation is ongoing. Exciting thing happened on Saturday. We held our first test event. So the park designers and park contractors wanted to get people in there to test the trails. So we invited basically a lot of the local NICA racing teams, NICA coaches. We invited Hoosier Mountain Bike Association, Tippecanoe Mountain Bike Association, Bicycle Indiana, people from Griffin Park out in Terre Haute. So we had a lot of people, a lot of riders of all ages, skill levels, and abilities. Had about 65 people present, and I was overwhelmed by the extremely positive feedback. Very few constructive criticisms were given to us. In general, everybody loved it. The praise went even so far as to compare us to Bentonville, Arkansas, which, if you know, biking in Bentonville is off the charts, crazy down there. And that's high praise for us to be looped into that conversation with Bentonville. So a lot of really good positive feedback, a lot of people very excited about what's coming. And we'll keep working. And we should be done with trail construction probably in about 6 to 8 weeks, and then be looking at scheduling soft openings and then the grand opening later in October. Next other milestone that we're working on there would be seeding proposals and getting our final seeding package put together for later towards the end of summer. Other park projects, the Admiral along the Fishing Pier project is moving forward. Later tonight, I'll be putting forward a memo that we've prepared for recommendations for award for projects associated with asphalt path connections, railings along the west side of the pond where we have some steep slopes there, the fishing pier, some miscellaneous site concrete, we would be putting that before you guys for potential awards there. Total projects are about $232,000 of the $280,000 budget that we still have remaining on those projects. So we're in good shape there. Happy to report that. More details to come later in the meeting. Big Four Trailhead portalet installation. We're actually going to table that later in the agenda and push that opening to July 8th. I just want to give contractors some more time to review those documents and hopefully have some more competition there. Reese Park parking improvements. We're just working with Triangle Asphalt. I don't have a definitive schedule, but they're telling me they will be there making the parking improvement work start this week and should have everything wrapped up before the 4th of July. Then jumping to other departments, LPD, the sewer repairs are now complete. There will be an additional appropriation at the city council meeting to help fund that. The fire department's station 11 HVAC upgrades, headquarters upgrades for the HVAC rooftop equipment. We have also completed our RFP process there, and we'll have a contract award recommendation later in the meeting. And then at the city council meeting will be the funding request. DPW projects, the resurfacing project is getting kicked off. All of our CMG, our community crossing matching grant program documentation is now complete. Our contracts are now complete with the contractor, and happy to report that work started today. They're really working up in the northeast part of the city, Lakeshore Court, Tahoe Drive, Sierra Drive, Prestwood Court, Oak Bend Court. So they're kind of working up there in that Lakeshore, Lakeside developments up there with removal and replacements of ADA ramps. They'll be working through the city doing all the ADA ramps over the next 2 to 3 weeks, and then they'll have another 2 to 3 weeks of paving after all the ADA ramps are removed and replaced. Last but certainly not least on the list are all the LEAP District projects, the road work that's ongoing out there. Happy to report Whit Road North is now fully surfaced out, also stripes. The signal heads are hanging at State Road 47, and they are expected to be operational and turned on this Wednesday. On Whit Road South or south of the Lilly sites, road construction, reconstruction of that road continues, including the roundabout at 300 and Whit Road. We're also working on the signal timing there. So that signal, the temporary signal at 300 and Whit Road is still flashing red, working with the engineers and Jason at Public Works to make sure we get that signal timing correct before we turn that back on. County Road 375 has now been surfaced from the eastern bypass all the way out to 39. Traffic signal heads went up at the intersection of 39 today and are also expected to be turned on Wednesday with the signals up at Whit Road and 47. Eastern bypass surface is complete. The striping was complete, but they kind of got a little off center as they were going through some of the turns on that road. So that striping has been removed and they're restriping that area before we fully finish that project. Still waiting on the CSX coordination, also on the agenda for later in the evening. That's all I have.
Thank you, Kevin. Any questions for Kevin from the board? From the public? Thank you, sir. Next will be Planning Department, Ben Bontrager.
Evening, board members. Planning Department is in the throes of the summer construction season, so we're very busy. 121 building inspections were completed over the last couple weeks, and 87 permits were issued. And of those 87 permits, there were 13 new single-family homes. For just over the last month or so, we've issued about 30 single-family permits. So good activity there, and still seeing very good activity on the commercial industrial side. There's 2 new permits have been issued and a couple of commercial additions as well. So very strong construction activity this summer. In terms of other projects, Elevate Lebanon, I know I talked about we completed the second project a few weeks ago. There's a third project that's been identified. Application's been approved by Habitat and determined financial need. Habitat completed a site visit last week, I believe it was, and they're putting together a construction cost right now. So hopefully here in the next couple of weeks, we'll have a little bit more information about that project, highlight the location, what we're doing out there for everybody. And again, just if there's anybody that has any needs, this is on the exterior of their homes to do repairs, whether that's repairing gutters, painting, staining decks, repairing, other repairs and stuff like that. Please reach out to Habitat to determine eligibility for their program and for the Elevate program. And then we'll certainly get you in the queue to help make those repairs using the volunteers through Habitat. Other projects, the comprehensive plan process continues. I know some of you have been invited to participate in stakeholder groups, and thank you for that participation. And so we'll work our way through that. We did also have a booth at the farmers market last week and got some feedback from people, Lebanon residents who are attending the market. And so we'll continue to do some data acquisition, things like that over the next few weeks. And then we'll start moving into plan formulation pretty soon after that. So there will be additional opportunities to participate in the future, and look out for those as we would post those as well. On the code enforcement side, again, and seeing incredibly strong activity here, and I'm keeping a running total of the last several reports because the activity's just been off the charts. I've never seen it like this before. So in terms of actual activities, there are 142 different total investigative activities over the last couple weeks, whether that would be emails sent or inspections or re-inspections of sites. In terms of new cases, we had 69 new cases over the last 2 weeks. 29 of which were grass and weeds, and 20 were trash and debris. So my running total now is in the last 9 weeks, we had 254 new cases, which I have not seen activity like that. So given the fact we still only have one code enforcement officer, that's a lot of activity. And so we are still looking to hire that second code enforcement position. Hopefully start doing some interviews here soon. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ben. Any questions for Ben from the board? From the public? Thank you, sir. Next will be Public Works Department, Jason Lawson.
Good evening. Since our last meeting, I'm going to start off with a couple updates here. DPW staff completed a joint safety training, bucket truck training with the Parks Department that was put on by IMPA. One of our chippers is down due to significant damage from some metal being into a brush pile. So folks need to make sure that we're just putting limbs and brush in those piles. We should get it back here in a couple weeks. Street Department update, the mowing and cleaning of easements. They completed the second limb and brush week of the year. They replaced and repaired 4 street signs. The painting of yellow curbs for no parking continues. Excuse me. The stormwater update, they repoured the concrete ring around a storm manhole casting on Indianapolis Avenue. They extended storm pipe on Hoy Avenue to improve drainage in that area. They sealed up the inside ring of a storm manhole casting on Indianapolis Avenue, and they vacuumed out debris on storm catch basins on Essex and Jameson Street, kind of preventative maintenance. And they responded to 260 utility locates. The next limb and brush week is July 15th. On inspections, we did 8 SWIP inspections, 18 right-of-way inspections, and fielded 3 complaints. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Jason. Any questions for Jason from the board, for the public? Thank you, sir. And then no Joe this week. So that concludes department head reports. Move on to old business. First item up is a project award concerning the Lebanon Fire Department headquarters HVAC systems. Kevin?
Thank you very much. I appreciate Chief Batts's patience with me on this one. This has taken a little longer than we had really anticipated, but happy to report that we have received 3 quotes for the replacement of the rooftop units at the fire department headquarters down there at 975 Lastly Drive. We received 3 quotes, one from Airtron Heating and Air Conditioning Incorporated, one from the Dilling Group CS/USA Incorporated, and one from Edwards Electrical and Mechanical Incorporated. And I'm happy to report the lowest, most responsible and responsive quote came from Dilling Group at $78,300. So it would be my recommendation that you authorize me, subject to a funding approval request that will be before the city council later in the evening, but subject to the funding, that you would authorize me to enter into contracts with the Dilling Group on behalf of the city for the replacement of those rooftop air conditioning units. There's also some other upgrades, some HVAC related upgrades associated with this, really getting the that station into a better state of air quality. There's a lot of issues with humidity in the building. I would encourage anyone to go take a look inside there. You can see how the ceiling tiles sag. That's because there's too much moisture in the system due to some short cycling issues and some other things that we found. So at this point, though, we would like to move forward with this project, again, subject to funding approval, but is recommended that we enter into a contract with the Dilling Group for the replacement of those HVAC problems.
Hey, Kevin, what were the other quotes that we received from the other 2?
Yeah, the other 2 quotes, we had one just a touch higher from Airtron at $78,467. And then the third one was a little higher from Edwards at $92,448.
Any questions on that from the board? Okay, we entertain a motion then to approve the project award for the HVAC upgrades to the Dilling Group, subject to funding approval from the city council.
I'll make a motion, we approve the proposal from Dilling Group in the amount of $78,300 for the HVAC upgrades for the fire department, and subject to funding request from the council later.
Okay, we have motions. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from Bill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved. All right, next will be a CSX construction agreement for County Road 375 and 450 North.
Yeah, I'd like to, if it's okay, let's kind of talk about the CSX construction agreement as well as the funding agreement, because they're really tied together. So I mentioned earlier in my report about the upgrades to the roads surrounding the Lilly site associated with the first project of the LEAP district. And we we need to improve 375 and 450 North where it crosses the CSX right-of-way. But in order to do that, us as having the right-of-way, controlling the right-of-way for the city, due to the annexations in that area, those county roads, as we refer to them, are actually city streets now, even though we still call them County Road 375 and County Road 450 North. So because we are the owner of that right of way that crosses CSX, we have to be the ones that enter into a contract with CSX for the improvements of those rights of way crossing their rights of way. And so that would be the widening, adding of curbs, extending pavement. This does not include the actual track crossing. CSX themselves will make those improvements. This is everything right up to the rails, essentially, on the track. So this agreement covers the city of Lebanon, and CSX associated with that work within their right-of-way, which is also within our right-of-way. This could not be put into, this contract cannot be executed by Pure Development, by the IEDC, by Milestone Contractors. It has to be executed between CSX and the municipality controlling the right-of-way. So that's why this contract is before you. This also then, that contract would say, that construction agreement would say that we are responsible for the financial burden of those repairs. So the next item on your agenda, the funding agreement, is basically an agreement between the IEDC and CSX stating that the IEDC will cover all of those costs associated with those projects. So two items, you might want to take them one at a time, but the first one is the CSX agreement related to construction within their right-of-way, and then the second one is the funding agreement with the IEDC that basically covers any financial costs that the project would bear associated with that.
I was up in the area the other day, and it's on 450, and it's very obvious where the CSX right-of-way is, because you have a nice wide road, and then it pinches down for the railroad tracks and winds up again.
It's frustrating that we can't make that better, but that's CSX was actually here long before the city of Lebanon was. So they kind of have a sovereignty in that area. We're working through their
this
process.
allows that where that road will now be the correct
This
size.
will allow that road cross section that is widened on either side of the railroad to be continued across the railroad right of way. So
just gives you a good before and after on the road improvement width. So
Kevin, I have a question. So IEDC is going to reimburse the city of Lebanon for
it's
this?
not, they will actually be paying the bills. So we won't have to put the money out and then reimbursed.
Okay.
So I would say when we get to that agreement, so the first agreement, really, there's nothing contingent there. I think we're ready to execute that construction agreement. The funding agreement with the IEDC, I think that should be subject to legal review and authorize the mayor to execute that agreement.
any questions on that from the board? Okay. Would entertain a motion then to approve the CSX construction agreement for County Road 375 North and 450 North railroad adjacent improvements.
Make a motion, we approve the CSX construction agreement for County Road 375 North and County Road 450 North as presented.
Motion approved. Is there a second? Second. Second from Judge. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved. Thank you, Kevin. Now, the funding agreement, IEDC, CSX, do you need to say anything more, or you okay with us?
I think we've covered all that.
Okay.
Again, it would be subject to legal review and authorizing the mayor for execution.
Any questions on that from the board? Okay, we entertain a motion then to approve the funding agreement with the IEDC to fund the CSX-related right-of-way construction, pending final legal review and authorizing the mayor to execute that contract on our behalf.
I'll make a motion, we approve the funding agreement with IEDC, subject to the review of legal and authorize the mayor to sign the contract.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? That is approved. Thank you, Kevin. All right, grab a glass of water if we come back up. Next up will be, or that concludes the old business. So move on to new business now. First up is policy updates from the Lebanon Police Department. Major Hood.
Just a second, get my screen up on there and, okay. The first policy update I'm going to request that you guys approve this evening is our animal control policy. This derives from training in our policies. One of the daily training bulletins came across and it had us executing the policy in a method we don't normally do. For example, it had us contacting our Department of Public Works for any deceased animal, regardless of location, interstate, whatever. So this is just cleaning that up. It kind of gives a reference on who to contact for deceased animals on public right-of-ways.
Any questions on that from the board? Okay, thanks.
The next one's a relatively minor change. It's a should to a shall and removes gender pronouns.
Questions on that from the board? Okay.
Emergency operations plan. The fire department does this much better than we do. Over the last several years, we've tried to improve on using the National Incident Management System as we're creating our emergency and operations plan. So this just clarifies, it tells us that we will use that National Incident Management System. We had a really good opportunity the last few 4th of Julys to execute our 4th of July plan under this, as well as the Eclipse plan. We're all National Incident Management based.
Any questions on that from the board? Oh, sorry, good.
Okay. And then just a little touch under here, it identifies, I think we'd previously seen a policy update where it established or mandates that we'll have a safety officer designated, and that copies go to the chief of police or reviewed and forwarded to the chief. Okay. And that's the last update for this particular policy.
Any questions on that policy, those policy changes? Okay.
The only update I think on this one here was it has our agency dealing directly with the Indiana Department of Homeland Security instead of going through Boone County EMA. We have a should to a shall. That was the main substance of that particular policy update.
Any questions on that from the board? Okay, next policy.
Forensic genealogy is a brand new policy for us. This is all new content. Much of it's over my head, so if we have specific questions on the DNA sequencing or any of that, we may want to speak with Colleen Brandyberry on that. She'd be more of an expert on that. Lexipol says that not many agencies at all have this policy in effect or in place, so they are recommending that agencies adapt this with little to no change at this time to kind of give us a baseline moving forward.
We've all seen this one before, but any questions on that from the board? It's all new, so. Yep.
And the last policy update is Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation. This is due to changes in the Federal Administration Code. A lot of its terminology and definitions related.
Any questions on that from the board? Okay, that concludes.
Pending any questions, I'd like to ask for your approval of those or update of those 6 policies.
Question on the board, or I would entertain a motion to approve the policy updates to the SOGs as presented.
Through the LPD policy updates as presented.
Motions are second.
Second.
Second from Bill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved. Thank you, Major Hood.
Thank you.
All right, Kevin, you got your water? So now you're back up? Yep. This is a project award for the Lebanon Parks Department concerning the Aberlongleigh Fishing Pier improvements.
Thank you very much. As you probably saw the memo that I included in your packets, there's really sort of there's a number of items that are included on this. So let me start by showing you a map of of the project we were trying to produce here. So there we have Admiral Longley Park, or the Conservation Club pond, you might see. There's, you've got the Big Four Trail, sorry, north is facing this way. You've got the Big Four Trail that runs through the park in this location here. Over here to the west, you have the Lebanon youth football fields. And then to the southwest of what we're talking about here, you've got the parking lot and the splash pad. So there's really three items that we're awarding tonight, but 4 in a total project. One would be to connect the asphalt parking lot to the Big Four Trail with this blue line with an asphalt path. It's currently a gravel path, so we'd be overlaying that gravel with asphalt. The second one would be to add guardrail, and there's a thin purple line that's in there. I'm not sure it shows up well on the overhead, but that is to provide a guardrail system along that west bank of the pond that is very steep. The third item is a fishing pier, a 30-foot by 50-foot fishing pier in that general vicinity. And those would be the 3 projects that we would be recommending award. There's some additional allowance in this total project for some connection of site concrete between the fishing pier gangway and the path extension. But that is already in our unit price contracts that we have in place for the city. So jumping to, I guess, let me give you some context here of what the improvements will look like. I think we all understand what asphalt paths look like, but this is the sort of protective guardrail that would be installed along that west side of the pond. So basically this is 6x6 posts with 2x6 railings, very sturdy. This is the kind of application you would see on even a highway project. So that's going to be a sturdy barrier that will allow us to remove that chain link fence along the west side of the pond. So that is what the guardrail would look like. And then the fishing pier, this is kind of a contractor's rendering. This is not great imagery here, but you would have a composite decking material that would be a sort of a light sand color. Shows up pretty dark on that picture there. And then you would have a guardrail railing around it that would be like a pipe rail that would be aluminum and would be powder coated black. And then you can see the gangway that would go up to the shore to provide access. This is a stationary fishing pier with the piles for the pier are drilled into the subsoil underneath the pond. So those are just to give you some context of what we're talking about. So essentially on the asphalt path, multiple contractors were contacted for proposals on this. I want to thank the group at Kramer Corporation for helping us pull these together. We have 2 proposals to consider for the asphalt paving. One from Globe Asphalt Company and one from Triangle Asphalt Paving Corporation. And the total asphalt path extension, I got a bad total here in my memo, but the total asphalt paving would be from Triangle Asphalt Paving at a cost not to exceed $31,700. On the guardrail, there were 3 contractors that submitted proposals, and the low proposal was from the James H. Drew Corporation for $34,825. Then last but certainly not least, the fishing pier. Again, 3 contractors submitted on that. The low proposal came from Deaton's Waterfront Services at $111,411. So again, 3 awards that we would be recommending tonight. One would be for the asphalt path extension and the connections there to Triangle Asphalt Paving Corporation, not to exceed $31,700. The pond guardrail to James H. Drew, not to exceed $34,825. And the fishing pier to Deaton's Waterfront Services at $111,411. So my apologies. I think on the math there, in my proposal, I had added 2 different options together on the asphalt total. We're going with the lower one. So my totals on the memo I gave to you, I apologize. There's a correction that will need to be there. Well, actually puts us in a much better situation financially speaking. We're going to be under $200,000, and I believe on our American Rescue Plan Fund associated with this project, we still have roughly $280,000 in our balance. So
Great. Told you the engineers that wanted
I
all
know
that was way too
right?
high, right? I told you.
Yeah.
Like, let's call it duck butter. Like they can get that better. Okay. Any questions on that from the board? Since we have, Tanya, do we need 3 different awards, or we could do it as presented? As a presented, we fine. Okay, great. Then we'll entertain a motion then to approve the awards for the Abner Longley Park Fishing Pier and related improvements as presented.
I'll make a motion. 3 awards as presented, paving to Triangle Asphalt and the guardrail of James H. Drew and the pier to Waterfront Service.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Bill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is approved. Kevin, have we heard a timeline for that once we get this all like knocked out?
I don't on the fishing pier. I know the guardrail is within like 4 weeks. I think the fishing pier is a similar timeline, but I don't have that to present to you yet. It'll be this summer. So
Great. Perfect.
well within our deadline of spending the rescue plan money. So
Very good. Okay. And then you said we're going to table the Sam Ralston Trailhead, correct?
yep, if you don't mind, let's table the bid opening for the Big 4 Trail Sam Ralston Road Trailhead Improvement Project.
Okay. Would entertain a motion then to table item number C in our new business.
Make a motion, we table item number C under new business.
Motion to table, is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, second from Judge. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That item is tabled. We'll take that up at our next meeting. That concludes what I have for new business. Anything from the board? Okay, we're going to claims. Entertain a motion concerning the claims.
Move to approve the claims submitted.
Motion to approve the claims, or a second?
Second.
Second from Bill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Any announcements or discussion? Would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Bill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, our next Board of Works meeting will be July 8th at 5:30 PM. City Council is up next. We are adjourned.